a video to explain and illustrate the difference between HTML and CSS, which are two of the main coding languages used in web development, web design. So if you're a new designer just getting your feet wet with web design, this is a good just overview and background information that you'll need to get a better understanding of how web pages are developed. And learning some basic coding for HTML and CSS will help you get an understanding of the differences and what they're used for. To illustrate the difference between HTML and CSS, I have just a text file open that I started to, it just has some paragraphs, and I started to put some HTML tags within the copy. I had a paragraph tag surrounding each paragraph. I have an ordered list and a line item. I was bolding and italicizing certain portions of the copy, and so you can get an idea of how this looks. I was going to open it in Dreamweaver. I'm just going to do a new HTML document, and I'm going to put my copy in between the body tag. Basically, the HTML tag is the main tag that will surround all content. And then within that tag, you have a header tag. And within the head tag, you'll have a meta tag, a title tag. So I'm just going to say HTML versus CSS. And then you have your body tag. These are the main tags. And HTML, once you get to work with it, it's not really that hard. So I'm going to paste my copy in here, and you'll get a visual of what HTML is. HTML I think of as basically a fundamental building block of any web page. So you'll see that the content here that just lays the foundation for your web page. So, and I've started to tag it with some basic HTML tags, and you'll be able to see a preview here when I type versus that text edit application. I usually use the text edit application when I'm going to an external editor, but using Dreamweaver is a little bit easier here. So that's my H1 tag. I'm going to do H2. These are the basic header tags, which you need to get familiar with. It's usually H1 to H6 are the main header tags. And then indenting along the way is usually a good idea because it helps separate chunks of copy so you can read it easier. So this is my ordered list. You can see there's ordered list and unordered list. Ordered list is numbered. If I change this to unordered, UL instead of OL, you'll see it just turns into bullets. And then I have another paragraph block, and then I have another paragraph, last paragraph here. And some of this copy is, you'll see it's separated with italics. What is the reach and engagement? You can see I put an italic tag, an I for italic, and here a B for bold. And other links you might need to familiarize yourself with is the href tag. The link, it's a link tag. So my external reference here is this web page, and then my target is blank, so it'll open up a new web page. But you don't really need to know that for the purposes of this tutorial. It's just to give you kind of an overview of what HTML is. So that's HTML. If you made an HTML page, and here I'm going to save this. And then this is the document I just saved. So if I drag this to a browser, you'll be able to see it's exactly the same. It's just a foundation. It's just the copy. And so then CSS, basically, the definition for that is that it's primarily handles the look and feel of your website. So it applies style to page elements. So I have some basic HTML style inline tags applied to my HTML document. But CSS, you can also get into external style sheets that are linked, and those would be linked in the header, and that would control the look of this entire page. So, and I have a website that I want to show you that illustrates this perfectly. It's called CSS Zen Garden. And what you can see is this page, CSS has been applied to the HTML page, and every link here is the same exact HTML content with just a different CSS style applied to the same content. So this is the home page, and then I'm just going to choose a different page, and you can see that this same exact content, the beauty of CSS design, blah blah, but different CSS. So along with images that have been placed, all this is controlled by CSS, and you can download and take a look at it as well. I'm gonna go then this is garments. Yeah, this is the next one. So you can see that this is completely different. Steel, different layout, different look, and this is being controlled by just a combination of HTML, the foundation HTML, and the CSS style guide that's overlaid this content. I'm going to go back. Apothecary, totally different. So let's go back to the first one, this mid-century modern. So by control clicking the page in Google Chrome, you can view the page source. And so you can see here, you can see that you can see the basic HTML. So the HTML tag is surrounding all the content, like I said before. And it says the language is English, the head, title, which is kind of similar to what I had here. I just had my title here, and then the meta tags. Any scripts, this is JavaScript. This is something different that adds function to the page. So HTML, foundational content. CSS controls the look and feel. JavaScript extends it and adds interactivity. So then you have meta tags, any meta tags, information, basic information about the pages contained within the header tag. Viewport, author. Viewport is the device width, etc. That's just information that the browser needs to know when it's reading this page. Header, Zen Garden, beauty of design. Summary, what is this about? Participation, benefits. But you can see that all this is just mostly HTML. Here's an unordered list, like I described before, unordered list. But this is all HTML. But what's controlling the look of it is this external style sheet. This is the CSS right here. Body, it's controlling the look of the body, the color, the look of certain header For example, the header type is header 1, header 2. You can see intro, header 2. This is all CSS. Summary page. So then what I was going to do is go to this next one and just compare the content. I'm going to try this. This is completely different, so let's try this one. I'm just saying control view page source. It used to be called inspect element. I don't know why it's not being called that anymore. But if you compare this HTML with the HTML of the previous page, you can see it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's just really CSS is controlling the look of this page, which is right here. It's always contained within the head tag under the style sheet link name here. And my guess is, it's not even really a guess, it's just I know that the CSS for that apothecary page is going to be just completely different. It may be organized the same, but it's just going to be completely different as far as controlling how the type looks, how bold it is, the fonts used, the fonts that are being called out, the look of the header type, the color. Here it is, color, the link color. That's the link color. The link color here is completely different. You can see that that's a hex. I have another video that talks about colors, and hex is one of them. This is a hex color for the links, and then the hover links, completely different. Intro section, intro paragraph, just spacing, margin spacing, and you know that the spacing on this is completely different than the spacing on the other page that I was looking at, which if we go back here, so just to kind of explain, give kind of an overview of the CSS. So header, and you can call a specific type, and they're calling this header preamble just for the purposes of calling it out in the HTML. They call it preamble, but that's the H3. It says here, designates here, preamble is H3. Preamble P, blah blah. That's just for purposes of making it easier to code. Sidebar, sidebar. This is a comment. This is not really being read by the browser. This is just a comment surrounded by a slash and asterisk, just for the coder, so they know that this is the sidebar CSS code. Different type within. Different type that's being called out specifically. So there's several different type styles that are. Here's the unordered list type, list style, the margins, display, text alignment, positioning. You can control nearly every aspect of type with CSS. Padding. You can control the font size, the positioning, the font type. You can call it a specific font and have it linked in your HTML as an external style sheet, just like CSS. You could change the background. For example, if you have a designated sidebar area, you can just change the background just to a specific color or a specific image, as is the case here. I'm just looking for something else that's of interest. This is the top margin, padding bottom. There's a couple ways that you can designate spacing in CSS. One is EM space. One is an EM space, or pixel, are sometimes used fairly interchangeably, I think, or percentage. You could use a percentage. a rem space. There are several different ways you can designate spacing. Here's the footer, showing exactly how the footer type, the spacing around it. This is a really long document. But the main takeaway from this is how much design latitude you have with CSS for controlling different aspects of a page, different aspects, the columns here, the type. This is background images for specific sections, list styles, link colors. Here's another link. Another feature of this particular site, is that you can download and inspect the HTML, CSS, etc. for every style. So if you like this and you want to download that source code, you can. If inspect element isn't really enough for you, but I think viewing the source page is really helpful, because if there's a particular font style that you like, you can just mimic it. View page source. You can see how it's being handled, how that block is being handled both in HTML and CSS. And before I go, I have a few references I can offer you if you're just starting with HTML, or you're just messing around with it, or you need a good reference. I use this one. It has HTML tags broken up by specific elements, attributes. There's paragraph tag, text formatting tags, images. It's just it's laid out really well for reference. The basics is probably what you would, if you're new to this, what you would want to start with. The other reference I have is a symbol reference that I use a lot when I'm looking for just a specific HTML symbol when I'm working with copy. If I need just a trademark symbol, a register symbol, or paragraph symbols, sometimes this is a really good overview. And what's nice about this is it's broken down by code, so you have some options. I typically just go with this HTML code for each specific, and I use it when I do my HTML tagging. So pretty much every symbol, currency symbols, letters, specific math symbols, punctuation I use a lot, especially like opening, closing brackets. It just depends on what I'm working with. Apostrophe, I use these a lot. I use this page a lot. And the other thing is just an overview of CSS. I'll put this in the description. So it's just basically a properties reference list. So if there's some specific characteristic I want to assign to some type, I can just look here, like borders, underlines, stuff like that. And it's listed here as well. Color, the color of the text. So you say color colon and then a space, and then you designate the hex color usually. Font size I use a lot, but the font style, font size, font weight. There's just some that you kind of remember what it was, but not exactly, and this is a good cheat sheet for looking it up real quick so you can use it in your coding. So I hope this tutorial is helpful to illustrate the difference between HTML, CSS, and I even mentioned JavaScript. Showed some examples, and I'll put these references in my description. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching.